The desert sun was sinking low when the stagecoach rattled across the barren plain. Its wheels groaning with every turn, dust rose in great clouds behind it, swirling like restless spirits as the driver cracked the whip against tired horses. Inside, a young woman named Clara sat nervously, clutching a small leather satchel to her chest as though it carried her last breath of safety. She was running from a life she did not choose, from a father who had arranged her future without asking her heart, from a world where her voice had been silenced too long. The stagecoach was her one path to freedom, but freedom in the West was never simple. Out of nowhere, the sound of pounding hooves broke through the twilight. Followed by the crack of gunfire, bandits surged out from the scrub like shadows come alive, firing into the air and shouting demands. Horses reared, the stage rocked, and before Clara could even scream, the coach lurched violently. The door flew open, and she was thrown out into the hard earth, her cry swallowed by the desert wind. Her body struck the ground with a force that left her gasping, pain searing through her limbs, her satchel tumbling into the dust beside her. The world spun, blurring sky and earth into a dizzy haze. She thought it might be the end. Her freedom gone before it even began, until the shadow of a man on horseback cut across the fading light. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and carried himself with the quiet strength of someone who had seen enough of hardship to understand it. His horse skidded to a halt, and he swung down in a single motion, boots crunching into the dirt. His eyes, sharp as steel beneath the brim of his hat, fell on Clara, and without hesitation he gathered her up into his arms. "You're safe now," he said, his voice low and steady, though his heart was pounding against her cheek. He could feel the tremor of her breath, the fragile weight of her body, and in that moment, something inside him shifted. He was no stranger to rescue, no stranger to danger, but this felt different. She wasn't just another soul caught in the wild. She was a spark of something worth protecting. Behind them, the stagecoach was overturned, bandits scattering with stolen goods, but he did not chase them. His focus was on the woman in his arms, her eyes wide with fear and yet filled with a stubborn fire. Clara tried to speak, her lips trembling, but only a whisper came. "Don't. Let me go." The cowboy shook his head. "Not a chance." He lifted her into the saddle, cradling her carefully before mounting behind, his arms a fortress around her. With a sharp command, the horse leapt forward, carrying them across the desert like wind over water. The night rose around them, cool and vast, stars blinking awake in the velvet sky. Clara leaned against him, her breath ragged, her heart racing not just from fear, but from something she couldn't name. She had been tossed into the dirt, broken down, and yet here she was, lifted back up, carried by a man who asked nothing of her but to hold on. Mile after mile, he whispered reassurances, words like gentle salve against her wounds. "Almost there. You'll be all right. I've got you." By the time the faint glow of town lights flickered on the horizon, Clara's fear had softened into something else, hope. The town came alive as they rode in, people rushing out to meet them, gasps filling the air at the sight of the bruised and bloodied young woman in the cowboy's arms. He dismounted with care, lifting her as though she were glass, and carried her through the crowd with a steady stride. Whispers followed them. She was thrown from the stage. He saved her. The cowboy, he carried her hope back too. In the safety of the doctor's house, Clara's wounds were tended, her strength slowly returning, but her eyes never left the man who had carried her across the desert. She had run from one life, uncertain what awaited her, but she found in him something she had never expected, the promise of a new beginning. He came to check on her every day, bringing not only supplies but quiet company, the kind that made the silence between them feel like a language of its own. She told him her story, of the life she fled, and he listened without judgment, his gaze steady, his jaw set with the kind of understanding only a man who had wrestled with his own demons could give. Days turned to weeks, and Clara began to walk again, her spirit stronger with every step. When she finally left the doctor's care, the cowboy was waiting by the hitching post, reins in hand, as though he had been waiting for her all along. "What now?" she asked softly, unsure if her voice trembled from fear or hope. He tipped his hat, the corner of his mouth tugging into a smile. "Now," he said, "we ride toward whatever future you choose. I'll ride with you, if you'll have me." Clara's heart ached, with a kind of joy she hadn't dared dream of, and she nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. For the first time, she wasn't just surviving, she was truly alive, carried forward by courage, kindness, and love. And so, under the endless sky, the woman who had been thrown from the stage rode back into life with a cowboy who carried not only her but her hope into tomorrow. Their story reminds us all that no matter how hard we fall, there is always a chance to rise again, sometimes with a little help from someone who sees our worth, even when we can't. And if you believe in stories of hope, courage, and love that conquers fear, then make sure to subscribe to this channel, because there are many more tales like this waiting to carry your heart too.